Well, as a policy matter, why not open an investigation on a thin pretext? I guess on the one hand, you could say it's a presidential campaign. It's very sensitive. You need better evidence. On the other hand, you could say it's a presidential campaign. We have to be very careful. There could be a threat to our political process.
Well, I think probably from a civil liberties standpoint, the greatest danger to our free system is that the incumbent government use the apparatus of the state, principally the law enforcement agencies and the intelligence agencies, both to spy on political opponents, but also to use them in a way that could affect the outcome of the election. As far as I'm aware, this is the first time in history that this has been done to a presidential campaign, the use of these counterintelligence techniques against a presidential campaign. And we have to remember that in today's world, presidential campaigns are frequently in contact with foreign persons. And indeed, in most campaigns, there are signs of illegal foreign money coming in. And we don't automatically assume that the campaigns are nefarious and traitors and acting in league with foreign powers. There has to be some basis before we use these very potent powers in our core First Amendment activity. And here, I felt this was very flimsy. I think our nation was turned on its head for 3 years. I think based on a completely bogus narrative that was largely fanned and hyped by an irresponsible press. And I think that there were gross abuses of FISA and inexplicable behavior that is intolerable in the FBI. And the Attorney General's primary responsibility is to protect against the abuse of the law enforcement and intelligence apparatus and make sure that it doesn't play an improper role in our political life. That's my responsibility.
Just so we're clear, this is Attorney General Bill Barr rejecting the findings of the IG report, which debunked the Republican conspiracy theory that the Russia probe was started on false pretenses to hurt Trump, and claiming regardless that, quote, the greatest danger to our free system is that the incumbent government used the apparatus of the state to spy on political opponents, but also to use them in a way that could affect the outcome of the election. Again, this is Bill Barr of the Trump administration sounding the alarms on an incumbent government using the apparatus of the state to affect the outcome of an election, all while Trump is being impeached for using the apparatus of the state to affect the outcome of the 2020 election. Now, he's referring to the GOP conspiracy theory peddled on a nightly basis by Fox News that Obama's administration had wiretapped the Trump campaign and Trump Tower. And the Trump administration pinned their fortunes on the IG report, revealing that not only did this type of spying occur, but that the entire Russia investigation was also politically biased. Only the IG report was released, and to the Trump administration's dismay, it said that the Russia probe was legally justified. And beyond that, there was no wiretapping except for one person, Carter Page, on suspicion that he was acting as a foreign agent, and even so, that wasn't until after he left the Trump campaign. In other words, not quite the large-scale wiretapping campaign on every member of the Trump team that Sean Hannity and the rest of his tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists would have you believe. And yet, because the White House has invested so much in this notion that everyone was just out to get Trump from the very beginning, they've decided that any findings that don't corroborate those claims simply aren't true, and they'll keep seeking avenues to validate their predetermined conclusion until they've succeeded. When the IG report was released yesterday, Bill Barr actually said, the Inspector General's report now makes clear that the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a US presidential campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, were insufficient to justify the steps taken. And so Barr is literally running a re-investigation of the Russia inquiry headed up by his hand-picked lackey, US Attorney John Durham, who also spoke out against the findings of the IG report that Republicans were holding their breath for. He said, last month we advised the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to the predication and how the FBI case was opened. In other words, Durham has already said that he doesn't agree with the findings of this investigation before his own quote-unquote investigation is even over, all but proving that his investigation is just going to be propaganda spoon-fed directly from the White House. And of course Trump has already forgotten about the IG report and is now desperately touting Durham's report.
I look forward to the Durham report, which is coming out in the not-too-distant future. He's got his own information, which is this information plus. And it's an incredible thing that happened, and we're lucky we caught him. I think I'm going to put this down as one of our great achievements.
The plus, of course, is referring to all of the bullshit. Barr goes on to claim that this is the first time that these counterintelligence techniques have been used against the presidential campaign. Except by now, knowing that the Trump administration wasn't spied on, Barr is just lying. That's it. There is no other way to explain this. The report lays out in black and white that the campaign wasn't spied on, and that the only person who was ever wiretapped was Carter Page on suspicion that he himself was a foreign agent, which, by the way, is not an uncommon crime in this administration, considering both Manafort and Flynn were charged with failing to register as foreign agents. So for Barr to pretend regardless that it happened is a testament to just how freely the Attorney General is willing to lie to the American people. Barr then goes on to claim that in most campaigns there are signs of illegal foreign money coming in, and that he doesn't automatically assume that it's nefarious. In other words, we have the Attorney General, the top law enforcement official in the United States of America, making excuses for campaign finance violations. So if this is the attitude at the very top, then of course that's why we've seen utter lawlessness from everyone else in this administration. But truly nothing is worse than Barr calling the Russia investigation a bogus narrative that was largely fanned and hyped by irresponsible press. The results of the Russia investigation were not so much bogus as they were proof that the Trump campaign cooperated with Russian officials looking to help the campaign. We know that Don Jr., Kushner, and Manafort met with the Kremlin-linked lawyer for dirt on Hillary Clinton. We know that Paul Manafort shared polling data with Konstantin Kilimnik, who has ties to the Kremlin. We know that Mike Flynn discussed lifting sanctions on Russia, which is a violation of the Logan Act, prohibiting citizens from interfering in foreign diplomacy. We know that Trump asked Russia on national television to hack Hillary Clinton's emails, and that Russia attempted to do just that only hours later. We know that Trump committed obstruction of justice on 10 separate occasions, so that those aforementioned examples of collusion would never be revealed. So Bill Barr might claim that the Russia probe was bogus, but the only thing that's bogus here in all of this is him pretending that he has any interest whatsoever in upholding the law or simply telling the truth.